Breaking news tonight, golfing great Tiger Woods arrested and charged with DUI. Police say he was speeding when he crashed into a truck, flipping his SUV. The new images just in showing Woods next to his rolled over vehicle. Authorities saying he appeared impaired and then refused a urine test. Police describing how Tiger had to climb out of the passenger side door just 5 years after this horrific crash and nearly 10 years after this DUI arrest. The golfer in jail right now. Also tonight, no deal. House Republicans blow up the Senate agreement to end the government shutdown and fund the TSA. The long lines at some airports stretching for hours again today. The president signing an emergency measure to pay the workers. Will that end the crisis? The market meltdown milestone today. The Dow plummeting into correction territory, down 10% from its high as President Trump scrambles to calm Wall Street. The director of the FBI hacked an Iranian-linked group releasing Kash Patel's private files as revenge for the war amid new attacks across the Middle East. The terrifying chopper crash on a Hawaii beach. 3 people killed, but 2 survived, treated right there on the beach. The update just in about the American Airlines flight attendant missing in Colombia. Was he murdered? And new tonight from Savannah, her message to her mother's kidnapper and the powerful reason she's returning to the Today Show. Plus, what we're learning tonight about the American troops injured in an Iranian attack on a U.S. airbase. We'll tell you where. Top story starts right now. Good evening. We begin tonight with that breaking news. Golf legend Tiger Woods arrested and charged with DUI after a dramatic rollover crash in Florida. These new images just coming in showing his SUV flipped on its side. You can see Woods there in that blue polo appearing to stand nearby. Police say Woods tried to overtake another vehicle at a high speed on a small street in Jupiter when he clipped the back of that car and crashed. No one was injured. Officials say he was lethargic on the scene, appearing to be under the influence of drugs, not alcohol. President Trump, a close friend of Woods, speaking on the crash just moments ago.
I feel so badly. He's got some difficulty. There was an accident, and that's all I know. Very close friend of mine. He's an amazing person, amazing man, but some difficulty.
Today's accident coming just 5 years after he was seriously injured in this devastating crash in California, where authorities say he drove at least twice the speed limit but was not impaired and did not face charges. But nearly 10 years ago in 2017, Tiger was charged with a DUI after he was found asleep in his car, resulting in this mugshot. Golf's greatest, maybe the greatest ever, known for both his incredible comebacks and big pitfalls. Back in jail again tonight. Our Jesse Kerr starts us off.
Tonight, Tiger Woods is behind bars in Florida, charged with driving under the influence.
Mr. Woods did exemplify signs of impairment.
Just before 2 p.m., the Martin County Sheriff's Office says the golfing legend was driving alone at a high speed on a 30-mile-per-hour suburban road in Jupiter Island. The 50-year-old was trying to pass a pressure cleaner truck.
This is a small 2-lane road, and there was no shoulder for this pressure cleaner gentleman to get off the side of the road. As he was trying to move to the side of the road, the Land Rover overtook him at the last minute, swerved to avoid a collision, but clipped the back end of the trailer.
Authorities say Woods crawled out of the passenger door and that he and the other driver are not injured.
Mr. Woods did a breathalyzer test, blew 000s, but when it came time for us to ask for a urinalysis test, he refused, and so he's been charged with DUI, with property damage, and refusal to submit to a lawful test.
Woods was also charged with driving under the influence in 2017. He pled guilty to reckless driving. And in 2021, Woods was driving nearly 90 miles per hour in a residential area of Los Angeles County, according to the sheriff. He hit a tree and the vehicle went airborne. Woods was not charged following that crash, but he did suffer numerous fractures in his right leg, requiring emergency surgery.
I feel I'm lucky to be alive.
But barely a year after that crash, Woods remarkably returned to golf on its biggest stage. He played at the 2022 Masters and even put on a show for his fans in Augusta. Just last October, he underwent back surgery for the 7th time. And earlier this week, Woods returned to professional golf for the first time in almost 2 years.
This body doesn't recover like it was when I was 24, 25. Doesn't mean I'm not trying. I've been trying for a while.
Woods is dating President Trump's former daughter-in-law, Vanessa Trump, Late today, the president weighing in.
I feel so badly. He's got some difficulty. There was an accident, and that's all I know. Very close friend of mine.
All right, Jesse Kurtz joins us tonight from outside the jail where Woods is being held. And Jesse, you're live there. Do we have any idea when Tiger will be released?
Yeah, so Tom, according to the sheriff, the earliest that Tiger Woods can be released from custody is 8 hours after his arrest. So based on the timeline that the sheriff has given us, that means that the earliest he could be walking out of this jail is close to midnight. We have reached out to Tiger Woods' team, but we have not yet heard back. Tom.
All right. Jesse, we thank you. For more on this developing story, I want to bring in host of Front Office Sports and a friend of Top Story, Baker Machado. Baker, we thank you for being here. Even if you're not a golf fan, you know who Tiger Woods is, one of the biggest names in all of sports. And like I said, maybe one of the greatest golfers ever. What is happening here, and what does this mean for Tiger going forward? Because he was trying to play in the Masters.
I think you can't find an even bigger golf fan than the president, and I think he expressed a lot of words that a lot of us are going through, which is concern right now for Tiger Woods, given the fact that we just saw on Tuesday him come back to his TGL Indoor Golf League finals, and the hope and expectation here, Tom, was maybe, even Tiger said hopefully, in the next couple of weeks he would have been able to qualify for the Masters, which starts the first week of, the 9th of April. And we haven't seen Tiger on the court or on the grass in over a year. The last time we saw him was at the Open Championship where he missed the cut, and we had been hoping in anticipation that maybe Tiger had turned this corner from all of the injuries that he had, that we would be able to see him. And now there's just so many questions of when we're going to see Tiger next.
Yeah, he's had so many comebacks, and I know he was in the middle of one right now. We're still learning the details of what happened here, but is this something he can sort of come back from again?
Yeah, you would think so, Tom. Just based on the small sample that we got from him on the TGL finals on Friday, it looked like Tiger was swinging really well. Again, at 50 years old, he's had such, as you mentioned, so many comebacks. Losing his mom also happened last year as well. So there's been this huge rise for him to come back, potentially to win his 6th Masters. Will we see him? He did say, even if he doesn't play in the Masters, he would show up. Does he actually now show up at the Masters will be the next big question.
Yeah, he's talked a lot about his body. We heard about that in the report.
And we just saw it, by the way.
He's had those back issues. You got to wonder with this rollover what that could have done to him.
And the biggest question is that we're hearing from a lot of other golf people is, does the PGA have to step in here to help Tiger? Is this a larger sort of question that needs an intervention with Tiger to sort of help him? Because we've seen over the course of the last 10 years or so, 3 different incidents where he's either been impaired, gotten into an accident, or both, and that is a concern.
And it's strange because he looks to be in sort of the best shape he's been in a long time.
Absolutely.
All right, Baker, we thank you for that. Now to that stunning breakdown in Washington, what looked like a deal to get the Department of Homeland Security back open and end the crisis at America's airports, suddenly falling apart. And late tonight, President Trump signing an emergency order to pay TSA officers again. Here's Ryan Nobles.
Tonight, as security lines wrap around terminals from coast to coast.
This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
President Trump signing an emergency order directing the Department of Homeland Security to pay TS officers using existing funds, calling it an unprecedented emergency at airports. DHS saying TSA officers could start seeing paychecks as soon as Monday. This after another stunning breakdown on Capitol Hill. House Speaker Mike Johnson blasting a bill passed by the Republican-led Senate that would have immediately reopened DHS without funding for Border Patrol and ICE.
This gambit that was done last night is a joke. The Republicans are not going to be any part of any effort to reopen our borders or to stop immigration enforcement.
That move guaranteeing the shutdown will extend indefinitely, with the two sides pointing fingers. The Speaker plans to put up a bill that would extend DHS funding, including ICE and Border Patrol, for 60 days. A plan Senate Democrats who want reforms to ICE say is dead on arrival. We press the Speaker.
At what point is a leader on either side going to stand up and say, we have a path forward that everyone will agree to? This vote today will extend the shutdown under any circumstance.
No, it won't. No, it won't. This is not party blame game. This is a record. You can hold up the record.
Rank and file members frustrated by the gridlock.
I mean, the American people must be sick of that specifically.
They're sick of politics. They don't want this finger pointing.
And even though TSA workers will get their paychecks soon, the damage may already be done. More than 480 TSA officers have already quit.
If it looks like this is going to become the norm, then we're definitely reevaluating our ability to maintain these jobs.
All with travelers waiting for relief. Mike Reyes showed up at a Houston airport and discovered his 4-hour drive to Dallas would be shorter than the security line to get on his flight.
If I just left, got in the truck and started driving.
Yeah, Ryan Nobles joins us now live from Capitol Hill. So, Ryan, our viewers are going to be maybe a little confused here, and maybe TSA workers as well. Nearly 500 have quit, right? They're going to start to get paid, thankfully. What about the lines at the airports? Because now you have that gap with those workers who have left sort of the entire force.
Yeah, it's probably going to be very inconsistent across the country, Tom, as these TSA workers start to get their paychecks back up and running. Many of them may already have obligations for other jobs that they have agreed to work going into the future. And it's just going to take some time for everything to get back to normal. I would think if you're traveling over the next few weeks that it's going to probably be at least a week before everything is back up and running. But there could be long-term consequences as a result of this. As you saw in our piece, there are many TSA officers who have just decided it's not worth it anymore and have just given up on the job. And the other thing we should point out, Tom, is that while these TSA officers will get paid, there's still 200,000 or so just rank-and-file DHS employees that are still not getting paid, some doing very important jobs like in charge of emergency management and cybersecurity. This problem is long from being solved, and Congress has a lot of work to do, and they don't have a clear path toward getting that work done.
Ryan Nobles and his team asking for answers there on Capitol Hill. We thank you. Now to breaking news out of the Middle East. Several U.S. troops injured in an Iranian strike at an airbase in Saudi Arabia. It comes as the war with Iran shows few signs of letting up. And today, Iranian-linked hackers appeared to breach the FBI director's personal email. Here's NBC's Gabe Gutierrez.
Tonight, as the war with Iran nears its 1-month mark, the FBI director's personal email account apparently hacked. Pro-Iran hackers publishing more than 300 emails and photos from what appears to be a personal email account for FBI Director Kash Patel. The FBI saying the hacked material involves no government information. All as President Trump says talks with Iran through intermediaries are progressing.
They are being decimated. They are talking. We are talking now. They want to make a deal.
Tonight, Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggesting U.S. airstrikes could end in a couple of weeks and saying U.S. objectives can be met with no ground troops.
We are ahead of schedule on most of them, and we can achieve them without any ground troops, without any.
While on Capitol Hill, most Republicans strongly back the president's strikes on Iran.
Look, this regime has been at war with us for 47 years. We need to do whatever we can to cripple and end this regime.
But there's also growing skepticism about the length of the conflict.
As far as I'm concerned, it's time to come home.
And Tom, the president just wrapped up a speech here in front of an investment conference in South Florida, and there's late word tonight, according to 2 U.S. officials, that several U.S. service members have been injured when an Iranian missile hit an airbase in Saudi Arabia. None of the injuries are considered life-threatening, Tom.
All right, we hope the recoveries are okay. Gabe, thank you. The stock market today hit a troubling new milestone, plummeting into what's called a correction. All of it driven by fears of a drawn-out war with Iran. NBC senior business correspondent Christine Romans is here to break it down. Christine, walk our viewers through some of the warning signs we're seeing.
Sure. New stock market lows for the year, substantial losses today across all the major indexes, really rattled by worries, as you said, about the war in Iran, that it's escalating. And let's look at the Dow here. It's down more than 10% from its high before the war with Iran began. That's 10%. That's called a correction. So what's happening here? Growing concern among international experts. The damage to the world's energy infrastructure, Tom, has been grossly underestimated. It will take years to rebuild. U.S. crude oil surging to $101 a barrel today, as there is no telling when the critical Strait of Hormuz will be open again. And mortgage rates now up to 6.64% on the sense the Fed will have to raise rates to fight this oil-fueled inflation. And, Tom, this caught our attention today. Stocks down so much, but Campbell's, known for its affordable soup, was up $1 a share, what some might call a trade anticipating maybe tougher times ahead for consumers. You kind of look at that as a little bit of an indicator that the economy could slow.
It's a scary sign. And, Christine, the fallout is really starting to hit everyday items?
Well, so we know gasoline, obviously, people can feel that. Jet fuel has more than doubled, right? So you've got airline tickets that are rising, or some airlines are actually cutting some of their flights because they just can't raise prices enough to be able to accommodate that. And then you've got diesel. A lot of concerns about diesel. trucks and trains. So much of what is delivered and bought in the United States is traveled on a vehicle that is fed by diesel fuel. So you're talking about maybe the things that go to a supermarket could cost more, things that go to your car dealer, all kinds of different things could cost more as the diesel prices filter through the whole system.
Post office as well, raising rates
That's right.
packages. Okay, Christine, thank you. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. There are high-stakes political implications involved amid pressure on the markets, soaring gas prices, and a failed deal to fund DHS. I want to bring in our political pros to help break it all down. Matt Gorman, NBC News political analyst, Amisha Cross, Democratic strategist, two good friends to Top Story. Matt, I'm going to start with you. There are Republicans in Congress that are growing increasingly frustrated about the war in Iran as gas prices skyrocket. We just heard from Christine here. Is the president starting to feel the pressure from Congress? I mean, are they on the phone with the president or trying to meet with him so he understands?
I don't know if he's feeling the pressure from Congress. He might be feeling it from the markets. I mean, today was just a long line of these sorts of corrections, or at least stock market ticking down. And I think that's what he's responding to. What I'm very curious of, right, the Senate's already home. The House is going to be going home for about 2 weeks, Easter recess. Do they hear from their constituents? Do they hear skepticism, or do they hear momentum? And I think that will cause the administration to either double down and escalate and end this once and for all, or de-escalate, like we heard Rubio and Trump saying before, and find a path out of this.
So, Amisha, the midterms may be this year, but still more than 6 months away. Will voters remember the pain at the pump, and are members of Congress concerned about that? And it really speaks more to the president's timeline.
Well, to be honest, I don't think they're going to have to remember. I think that the crisis at the pump is going to last a pretty long time. What we have with this president is somebody who entered a war without any really clear awareness as to why he was doing it, nor how to get out of it. And Iran has only shown more amplification since that time. They're not listening to his multi-point plan. They are not, strategically working with him on anything, nor has he showcased a willingness to actually work with NATO alliance partners here. He's only taken every opportunity to castigate those folks. What we know is a problem for this president is rising costs, whether that's fuel costs, whether that's typical cost of living, housing costs, food prices, things like that, in addition to the reverberating effects of his tariff strategy. Americans have cried out for cost of living time and time again. And now we're in a $1 billion a day war with a Congress, with a Republican-led Congress that is going back and asking for billions more. Meanwhile, Americans cannot afford to get by, and we're continually seeing rises in the unemployment rate. We are at a point where things are really hard for everyday people, and they, of course, are going to remember this through midterms because, in all honesty, there is, quite frankly, no sign of any of this stopping. So the next few months are only bound to get harder.
Matt, the president is saying his poll numbers are great, that he's doing great in the economy. We know that to be not the case at all. There's no polls that show that he's doing great or that he's doing great in the economy. The clock is ticking. I feel like we have this conversation every time you're on. We are getting into a correction territory when it comes to both the Dow and the NASDAQ. We're talking about possible inflation, possible, not a rate cut, a rate increase by the Fed as well if this continues. Republicans got to be worried about this stuff.
I mean, look, the last time I saw you in person was State of the Union night. We talked about affordability, how that was going to really reign the day, and he gave a great speech on affordability. I think the sooner the Republicans can get back to that, the sooner they'll be, and the better off their party and the chances in November will be. Now, keep in mind, though, and I know we mentioned this as well, in 2022, the last presidential midterm, the defining issue of that cycle was abortion. And by this time back in 2022, we hadn't had the Dobbs decision issued yet. So again, I think that the idea that this thing is baked is that might have been true 20 years ago in political cycles. Not anymore. I think the news cycle moves so quickly. We have to.
But I think it's different between a cultural issue, a social issue, and the economy. I think they're all a little bit different. Amisha, I do want to ask you, where do you think Democrats land on this battle with the TSA and funding DHS? Because it's unclear from the messaging if the average American voter sort of knows who to blame on this. I mean, they see the TSA officers. They're upset they're not getting paid. The lines are terrible. You have the House Republicans today blowing up the deal. But do you think the communication from the Democrats has been on point?
Well, I think the communication from the Democrats has been to point to the people who have continued to stall this process. There was a deal just a few days ago to basically reopen to ensure that TSA got funded, and President Trump didn't sign it. Democrats blasted that across every platform imaginable. In addition to that, we've seen time and time again the Democrats argue essentially to move this off of the table to ensure that TSA had funding, that they wouldn't hit this same gap over and over and over again. Because to a point you made in your earlier segment, a lot of TSA agents aren't trying to come back. Those people quit. Do you know why? Because they cannot feed their families, manage their mortgages or rent with a TSA funding gap that continues to hit every few months. They have to ensure that they're going to get paid like anybody who works across America. With that being said, I think that for many Democrats, you know, this coming weekend is No Kings rallies. No Kings rallies will bring together hundreds of thousands of people in cities across America to talk about what this president is doing, be it whether it is tying TSA funding to DHS funding and some of the atrocities we've seen with ICE enforcement, or him basically, you know, eroding the fact that we even have a constitution every single day.
You think the No Kings rally helps Democrats? I mean, because you think the people that are showing up to those rallies, you already have those voters.
Well, I think that some of those voters, actually several of those voters, are not baked in the cake Democratic voters. Many of those are undecided voters. And because right now what we've seen over the past few weeks with TSA has only fueled more people, individuals who normally wouldn't have taken place in a No Kings rally are taking place in this one because they want to ensure that the attention is paid to the issues that matter to them the most.
Matt, before we go, I do want to ask you, it's a little strange. The speaker was sort of blasting the Senate for passing that bill, right, on the funding, and yet Republicans are in charge of the Senate, and then saying even Senate Republicans are suggesting they hadn't read the entire bill. What do you think about sort of not being on the same page?
I think more than anything else, the House resents probably being jammed by the Senate and expecting they would pass this. They have to exhaust all the options before they get this done. Again, I'm glad they brought up the No Kings rally because that's really what is the cause of this. Democrats are too scared to actually vote for this. They're left and get streamed at by their base. They won't be able to vote for this because the left, far left base won't let them do that. That's the whole reason they're holding this hostage. I think that's the whole point of this. And again, they're willing to extract pain on TSA for ICE, which is already funded through law and will continue to be. So it really just makes no sense. At least Republicans are trying to solve this. Democrats are just, again, holding No Kings rallies and being beholden to their base.
Matt Gorman, Amisha Cross, always great to have you guys. I hope you have a good weekend. Still ahead on Top Story, new evidence in the attempted murder trial of a Hawaii doctor. The DNA and tattered clothes collected from the scene just shown to the jury. Plus, when the son of the husband could take the stand, and the desperate search for answers after an American Airlines flight attendant disappeared in Colombia. Was he murdered? What investigators are saying about the people he was last seen with. Plus, we'll hear more from Savannah's powerful interview as she plans to return to Today. Stay with us. Back now with the court drama in Hawaii. New evidence and new testimony in the case of a Maui doctor accused of trying to kill his wife on a hiking trail. Our Steve Patterson has been covering all week for us. He's outside of court again tonight.
Tonight, new DNA evidence unveiled for the jury. Samples of tattered clothing collected at the scene. Prosecutors call it the bloodstained remnants of a violent cliffside attack carried out by Maui Dr. Gerhard Koenig.
On this side, I could see that there's a stain, so I took a swabbing of that area for the first sample.
Prosecutors say Koenig took his wife Ariel on a hike up this trail for her birthday last year. She testified he first attempted to push her off a cliff, then struck her repeatedly in the head with this rock, shown to the court earlier this week.
And I was screaming, and so he's covering my mouth and stuff, and then we had this moment of like, he seems like he takes a deep breath, and then he just starts hitting my face and my head with a rock.
A pair of nearby hikers, hearing her screams, testifying that they came to her aid.
He was hitting her with a rock.
Police body cam video showing her condition moments after the incident. But defense attorneys say it was Ariel who started the scuffle.
She came after him, started kicking, punching, to end up on the ground. She's swinging at him.
The result of a troubled marriage, the jury shown texts between Ariel and a work colleague she admits are flirty, not a full-on affair.
The evidence will show Ariel Koenig says many untrue things about what happened. And she did so, you will see, to get the upper hand in the coming divorce and custody case.
Prosecutors hoping the evidence is overwhelming enough to silence any reasonable doubt.
Yes.
All right, Steve Patterson joins us tonight from Honolulu. We spoke earlier about the doctor's teenage son. He's expected to testify as well.
He is. Yeah, Tom, Gerhard Koenig's 19-year-old son, we first heard about him during opening statements. The prosecutor saying that he got a FaceTime call from his father immediately following the attack, covered in blood, essentially admitting to the crime, and then saying he wanted to take his own life. If he does testify, if and when, I should say, that could be bombshell testimony in a trial that could last some time. We don't expect closing arguments until about mid-April or so.
All right,
Tom?
Steve Patterson for us. Steve, thank you. Coming up, the Major League Baseball player calling foul on his own parents while he's suing them for millions. Plus, remember those two hawks stolen off a cart from SoFi Stadium? We did this story. Well, police say they just identified a suspect, what we're learning. But first, we're back now with a somber update in the search for an American Airlines flight attendant who went missing while on a layover in Colombia. A local mayor now saying they may have found his body. NBC's Ryan Chandler has more.
Tonight, a tragic turn in the search for an American flight attendant missing in Colombia. The mayor of Medellin announcing Friday they've likely found 32-year-old Eric Fernando Gutierrez Molina dead. The mayor saying a body was found more than 2 hours outside Medellin, with a very high probability it is Gutierrez Molina. He says he personally delivered the painful news to Gutierrez Molina's father, who traveled to the country amid the frantic search.
Este fin de semana.
Local officials say Gutierrez Molina was last seen early Sunday as he spent the night out with co-workers while on a crew layover for American Airlines. They say he and a co-worker left with other people, and then he vanished.
I messaged him, have a good night, be safe, love you, and he just messaged, okay, perfect, love you back, I'm gonna go out and hang out with my crew.
Gutierrez Molina's boyfriend told our NBC Dallas station he knew on Sunday morning that something was wrong.
Horrible. It's the worst feeling ever, not knowing the uncertainty, keeping faith, but at the same time, we're all human.
And we're learning more about the strangers authorities say were last seen with Gutierrez Molina.
De nacionalidad estadounidense.
The security secretary of Medellin says they have a history of committing theft using a sedative known as scopolamine. The U.S. Embassy in Colombia has warned about this drug, also called devil's breath, saying it's an odorless, tasteless, memory-blocking substance used to incapacitate and rob unwary victims. This week, American Airlines telling NBC News, we are actively engaged with local law enforcement officials in their investigation and doing all we can to support our team members' family during this time.
Ryan joins us. Ryan, what more can you tell us about that drug? It's so strange that think was used in this?
Yeah, Tom, unfortunately, this drug is infamous across Colombia for the dangers it can pose, especially to unsuspecting tourists. The U.S. Embassy warns that this is the kind of drug that makes you especially vulnerable to robbery. It makes it very easy for thieves to trick you and remove your memory. It's so common that bars and clubs across Colombia even have signs up warning tourists to be on the lookout because it doesn't have a lot of warning signs. It's odorless and tasteless. It can be slipped into a drink, and once you're exposed, you could be out of consciousness for 24 hours. Overdoses can also be deadly. So tonight, Tom, we're also learning that the mayor is calling for justice, even alluding to potential extradition for those who are responsible.
Sounds terrifying. All right, Ryan, we thank you for that. Now to Top Stories news feed. We start with breaking news out of Tennessee. Officials there say 2 students were killed after a school bus crash. The state's highway patrol says 25 students and 5 adults were on a middle school field trip when the collision happened. 7 others were injured and airlifted to area hospitals. Officials say the crash involved the Department of Transportation dump truck and another vehicle. The cause is still under investigation. And there's also an investigation in Hawaii after a deadly helicopter crash. 3 people were killed after the sightseeing helicopter went down in the waters off the island of Kauai. 2 survivors were airlifted to the hospital. No word on their identities at this time. They were treated on the beach. And remember those hawks that were stolen last year during an NFL game? Investigators say they now have a suspect. Inglewood police say they know the identity of the person who stole the cart from SoFi Stadium with the hawks, though it's unclear if the person knew the birds were on board. 1 hawk was recovered shortly after the incident, but 6 months later, that second bird still hasn't been found. And Philadelphia Phillies player Alec Boehm is suing his parents for millions, accusing them of stealing his money. The third baseman says his parents stole large amounts from accounts they managed for him. The lawsuit coming after Bohm says his parents blocked access to some of the accounts. Bohm's parents are denying any wrongdoing with their lawyer, telling the AP they are deeply saddened by the allegations. And tonight we're hearing from our beloved colleague Savannah. She's opening up about a message she posted directly addressing the person who took her mom, and she's also sharing her plans to come back to Today.
And to beg for mercy.
Tonight, for the first time, Savannah Guthrie talking about a message she posted on social media in hopes the person who took her mom realized who they were holding captive.
She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
I remember you said, talk to her.
Talk to her.
That's what you said, I remember. Yeah.
See this extraordinary woman. You're lucky to be in her company, even if for a moment. See it.
Savannah also telling Hoda in that sit-down interview about how she and her family are finding resilience even as their agony continues.
I will do it for my kids. I will. I will not fall apart. I will not let whoever did this take my children's mother from them. I will not let them take my joy. They will not take my sister's joy. They will not take my brother's joy. They will not take our love. They will not take our faith. But our anguish is real. We need help. We need someone to tell the truth.
And despite everything she's facing, also opening up about coming back to the Today Show.
It's hard to imagine doing it because it's such a place of joy and lightness, and I can't come back and try to be something that I'm not. I want to smile, and when I do, it will be real. I will have joy, and my joy will be my protest.
And this morning, Hoda announcing Savannah plans to return to Studio 1A on Monday, April 6th. Her Today family will be waiting for her.
I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'll belong anymore. But I would like to try. I would like to
And
try.
if you have any information about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, here again is that FBI tip line. A reminder, those tips can be made anonymously. And you can tune into Savannah Speaks, a Dateline special tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Just ahead, our series, The Cost of Denial, and the firefighter who devoted his life to saving others, now fighting for his own. Why his insurance company is rejecting the treatment his doctor says he needs. Next tonight, our series, The Cost of Denial, which investigates the challenges people face with their insurance providers. Bagad Shaban from our NBC Bay Area station reports on the firefighter battling cancer and the insurance denial for the treatment his doctor says he needs.
Ken Jones and Helen Horvath have been married for close to 25 years. They met as young firefighters in San Francisco. Ken ultimately became the fire department's lead counselor, helping first responders cope with trauma and serious illnesses.
In the fire service, you need to get yourself checked.
Ken spent his entire career helping others, but his doctor believes those 17 years amid smoke and ash contributed to his diagnosis last year of stage 4 lung cancer. The couple found themselves in a battle against time and against Ken's health insurance, which denied coverage for part of his cancer treatment.
It's painful. It's painful, especially because of how unnecessary it is.
This could have been prevented.
Yes. The suffering of cancer is part of the human condition, but the suffering from insurance struggles is completely unnecessary pain.
Ken's doctor wanted him to get chemotherapy to attack the cancer that had spread throughout his body, and immunotherapy to train his immune system to also fight the disease. Insurance said okay to chemo, but not immunotherapy.
You just automatically depend on that insurance being there, and then when it's not, it's quite a blow.
Blue Shield of California administered Jones's Medicare Advantage plan and told NBC News, "Our medical reviews follow clinical guidelines and are not based on cost." Now, in its denial letter, Blue Shield acknowledged the immunotherapy prescribed by Jones's doctor is FDA approved, but only as a first-line treatment. The insurer determined Jones is ineligible because he'd already received other medications for his cancer.
Sometimes, though, there's gray area in medicine.
Dr. Matthew Gubens is Ken's oncologist. He believes Blue Shield is misinterpreting medical guidelines and says he should know. He helped craft them. Dr. Gubens is part of a prestigious panel with the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, which issues the nation's most influential guidelines on cancer treatment.
There are edge cases among our patients where those guidelines just don't apply.
Dr. Gubens says Blue Shield is wrong to consider the immunotherapy a new medication for Ken because it was already part of Ken's initial treatment. Doctors paused it to try 2 experimental drugs. Blue Shield still rejected the claim. So Dr. Gubens called the number listed on the denial letter to lodge an appeal.
Did you ever reach anyone? I reached people who apologized, but they weren't the right place to send the appeal to, and often referred me back to the first person I talked to.
How long were you on the phone?
That day, I spent about 3 hours calling different phone numbers for this insurance company.
Ken received more than $50,000 in donations to finally get 1 round of immunotherapy. But the treatment needs to be repeated every few weeks. So Ken and his wife decided to abandon his Blue Shield Medicare Advantage plan in hopes traditional Medicare will cover future bills.
It should not be that hard for us.
Ken, a veteran firefighter, says he's now trying to protect others by sounding the alarm.
You don't stop just caring about other people just because you're having a hard time.
Bagad Shaban, NBC News, San Francisco.
We thank Bagad for his reporting and such a powerful story there. We now want to turn to another family impacted by cancer as well. When a Chicago area man lost his father to the disease, he found the perfect way to honor his father's legacy, tapping into a beloved March Madness tradition, celebrating fatherhood and love of the game.
Are you kidding me? This is the moment of sweet surprise from one dad to another. The gift of March Madness.
You played it pretty cool. Look at this.
For Tim Coffey, it's a tradition that began with his own father. Growing up, they'd watch games and compare brackets, traveling the country to cheer on their teams.
Watching the games with my dad was my favorite thing. He let time stop.
The family tradition continued into adulthood until his dad passed away from cancer last August.
As I'm watching these games, anytime my phone goes off, it's never gonna say Dad. So to honor his father, this March, Tim decided to pay it forward, his way. This is a no-brainer. You guys have the best dad.
Surprising another deserving dad with tickets.
Max, what do you think? Free to take these boys to the Sweet 16?
I heard what he said, but it took a moment to register. Whoa, I can't believe this, you know.
Max Clark is no stranger to Tim. Their families connected through a mentorship program 14 years ago, and they've helped each other through hard times ever since.
This is a tradition my family always had. It only feels right that now their family has it.
Tonight, Max and his boys are on their way to the game.
The only person I could think that would have loved that moment more than me and this opportunity more than me is my dad.
Still ahead. That does it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching Top Story. I'm Tom Llamas in New York. Stay right there. More news on the way. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.